Welcome to the Bliss Section Podcast. This is a podcast where we explore stories, conversations, and life experiences that inspire healing, growth, and purpose. I'm your host, Tammy, and each episode features creatives, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, change makers, and everyday people who are redefining what it means to live a life filled with intention and joy. Today's guest is Melissa Pauline, a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, healthcare executive, and entrepreneur. With more than 20 years of healthcare experience, Melissa specializes in anxiety, depression, ADHD, burnout, women's mental health, and integrative psychiatry. Her mission is to help ambitious women stop surviving and start thriving through compassionate, evidence-based care and holistic wellness solutions. In today's conversation, we'll discuss burnout, silent struggles many high-achieving women face, the connection between hormones and mental health, and what it truly means to prioritize your well-being. Let's enter the Bliss section. Melissa, in addition to your amazing bio, credentials, career journey, who is Melissa outside of all the accolades?
Well, but beyond the letters behind my name, I'm also a wife, a mom, a woman of faith. I'm someone who has experienced grief, burnout, and reinvention firsthand. Those experiences have really shaped how I care for people. I spent more than 2 decades in healthcare, but what matters most to me is helping people feel seen. So whether I'm in the ICU or I'm in my psych practice, I want people to know they're more than a diagnosis. So I believe healing happens when we treat the whole person and not just the symptoms.
Ooh, the whole person and not just the symptoms. What inspired you to get into this line of work in the mental health care field in the first place?
Like I say, this is near and dear to my heart. Dealing with grief, of the loss of my child, dealing with depression and anxiety. It really shapes the way I view how others take care of themselves and how others um do not provide the boundaries that they need for themselves, which really made me want to show them how to create those boundaries.
And boundaries is so very important. Now, you're an entrepreneur. Tell us about your company that you're the founder of.
So, Nouveaux Behavioral Health is a we mental health practice. We do both in office and telemedicine. And I incorporated that with also Nouveau U Wellness. Nouveau U Wellness is a wellness clinic, which is side by side with behavioral health. And what we do is we see the person as a whole. So not just medication as just medication management. I also look at vitamin levels. I look at, your blood levels to see if you're anemic. I look at vitamin D, vitamin B12, because at the end of the day, depression just doesn't come out of nowhere. A lot of times it has to do with vitamin imbalances. It has to do with hormone imbalances. It has to do with, the amount of hemoglobin and how much oxygen gets into your hemoglobin. So there's a lot of other things that come into play when it comes to anxiety and depression.
I'm so glad that you talked about the various factors that play into anxiety and depression alone, because it even can be environmental factors as well, genetics. So that's a safe assessment to say there's even more than what we just chimed in here about today.
Correct. So it's more than meets the eye. And what I try to do is I try to look at the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, in order for us to get the proper personalized plan for them.
Well, I definitely commend you, Melissa, and all the amazing work that you're doing. We need as many mental health care professionals, especially in today's climate, especially those who look like you and I.
Yes, I'm happy that it's more, we're talking about mental health more. I know back in the day it used to be taboo. A lot of people didn't discuss, their therapist or even if they did go to therapy or what medications they're on. And now people are more open to speaking out loud about, depression, anxiety, ADHD, what do they take, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, who their therapists are, because the biggest thing about mental health is getting the conversation started. And once the conversation gets started, people become more aware of different diagnoses and how they can get help.
Very well said. You often say burnout isn't a badge of honor. Why do so many women wear exhaustion like its success.
I mean, I feel like because we've been taught that our value comes from how much we produce, right? How much we sacrifice, how many people we can take care of. Women, we often believe that rest has to be earned. We celebrate being busy, but we rarely celebrate being well. So the problem is that chronic stress eventually shows up somewhere, either your mood, your relationship, your hormones, your sleep, or your body. So I want women to understand that exhaustion isn't a proof of purpose, pieces.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Melissa, because there's a stigma or, catchphrases like I'll sleep when I'm gone or, I have to go hard. Or people think that sleeping is lazy when there's
Right.
some people in other countries who they really value sleep and rest and taking a day for yourself for your mental well-being. If you're not good to yourself, how can you be good for anyone else, right?
Correct. Self-care is very important.
It's so very important, no matter how that looks for sure. How can women begin to prioritize themselves without feeling guilty?
I first thing first, redefine what self-care is for you. So a lot of people, massages and vacations is not always what they consider self-care, right? Sometimes just saying no. Sometimes it's going to therapy. Sometimes it's taking medications. And sometimes it's just going to bed on time. So it's like a lot of times people think of self-care and they equate that to massages and vacations, but a lot of times you get the massage and you still come back sore and just still tired, or you go on vacation and you get that jolts of dopamine and you're like, yay, I'm having a great time, and then a week later you come back and now you're still back to square one. So you can't pour from an empty cup. I don't want to be, not because it's a cliche, but it's neuroscience, right? Your brain cannot function optimally when it's chronically stressed and sleep deprived. So taking care of yourself isn't selfish. I say it's responsible.
Absolutely. And if your mind is, racing all the time, if you're overly stressed, it's just going to trickle down into your body, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. I want to go back to your business. Melissa, are you currently accepting clients? And if so, how can they reach out? And what type of clients are you currently looking for? All of that.
Yes, so we are currently accepting clients. We do take commercial insurances, so like your Aetna's, Anthem, Optum, Cigna, and so forth. We do also offer self-pay for those that are uninsured. You can find us at, nouveaubh.com, which is our website. You can click on the link, and it takes you to our booking site. Right now, I see a lot of adults, high achieving adults that are navigating ADHD, anxiety, depression, mood disorders, sleep disorders as well. My goal is to make mental health conversations practical, compassionate, and rooted in evidence.
Wow, amazing. And are you in a certain region or can anyone reach out?
I am currently have my physical offices in Beaufort, Georgia. So I see patients via telemedicine throughout Georgia, but I also see patients in Tennessee, New York, Washington State, Florida, Idaho, and New Mexico.
Beautiful, absolutely amazing. One of your signature topics is the connection between mental health and hormones. You touched on it a bit earlier. Why is this conversation so important?
Because hormones, they influence every system in your body, including your brain. So women are told they're simply stressed or they're getting older when actually they're experiencing hormonal changes that affect both their mood, anxiety, sleep, focus, and emotional regulation. So sometimes not every symptom is hormonal, but sometimes it's depression, sometimes it's ADHD, sometimes it's trauma. The goal isn't to blame everything on hormones, but we just want to make sure that your hormones are optimized, and get that off the table so that you can have the right diagnosis and right treatment.
Question that I love asking those who are definitely skilled and trained in the mental health field. What advice would you give to anyone who aspires to enter the field who they also were diagnosed with some mental health challenge? What would you like to say to that?
For those that are diagnosed and want to help others, first and foremost, make sure you're prioritizing you. In this field, you can get easily burnt out, because being in the mental health field, you take on a lot of other people's traumas or griefs or anxiety. So you want to make sure that you're at your healthiest point, and then that way you can be able to reciprocate and help others. So I always encourage, prioritizing sleep, prioritizing like protein rich meals, hydration, healthy boundaries. All of those are very important.
Very, very important. If someone's listening today who's not in the mental health field or doesn't aspire to be, but they are struggling with anything that you're knowledgeable about, if that's the ADHD, if that's the anxiety, the burnout, the depression, what message or uplifting word of encouragement would you like them to hear today?
Um, I would tell them that they're not broken, they're not failing in life, they're not lazy. They just need support and they need to reach out and start the conversation to get that support. So one conversation, an evaluation, a treatment plan that can completely change their direction, the direction of their life. So starting that conversation.
I just love talking to you, Melissa. You are amazing and so needed in this world for sure. What's one mental health myth you hope we leave behind in society?
Um, Asking for help. Asking for help is not weakness. That
Hmm.
people think that asking for help is weakness. The strongest people I know are the ones willing to be honest enough to say, I'm not okay. I need help. Mental health treatment is about change, isn't about changing who you are. It's about helping you become the healthiest version of yourself.
Wow, I'm deeply moved. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you'd like to share, maybe promote or discuss at this time?
I'm passionate about educating people, because when people are educated, it reduces the shame and the stigma of mental health, whether it's through my practice, social media, speaking engagements, other podcasts. My mission is simple, is to make mental health understandable, accessible, and something people feel comfortable talking about. Because once we normalize these conversations, more people can get help sooner.
Wow, start these conversations and more people can get help sooner. As you know, this podcast is called the Bliss Section. And I always say we've entered the Bliss section for sure. What does choosing bliss look like in this season of your life for you?
For me, choosing bliss means choosing alignment over achievement, if that makes sense. It's creating a life that reflects my values of chasing someone else's definition of success. It means protecting my peace, spending time with my family, building meaningful work, and remembering that success means very little if you don't have the help to enjoy it. So, my encouragement is this: don't wait until life forces you to slow down. Give yourself permission to choose yourself now.
Oh my gosh, that need to be on a t-shirt. Give yourself permission to choose yourself now. Oh my gosh, I heard it from Melissa Pauline herself. I am just in awe of you. Everything you said really touched me, moved me. This is why I do this. We need to hear from people in the field who know what they're talking about. And like I said earlier, someone who looks like us in the field, we need more. And I'm just in awe and I'm so touched and glad that you came on the show today. I am going to continue to follow your work,
Thank you.
to uplift you and encourage you and recommend people to contact and follow you for sure. And if you can just tell us one more time where to follow you on Instagram and all the other social media platforms, all that fun stuff.
So on Instagram and Facebook, Nouveau UBH is where you can find us. And again, our website is nouveauubh.com. We do consultations, psych evaluations, medication management, and assessments.
Melissa, thank you again for taking the time. You are a beautiful spirit inside and out. And I just speak in existence that you continue to be highly blessed and favored in this selfless, amazing, so needed work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Take care and talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
All right,
Bye
bye.
bye. It was so wonderful to have Melissa on our podcast today, sharing her wisdom, her journey, and just this important conversation. Her insight and compassion have just made this episode truly meaningful. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending part of your day with us here today on the Bliss Section. If this episode encouraged you, inspired you, or reminded you to take care of your mental and emotional well-being, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, bliss isn't about having a perfect life. It's about creating moments of peace, purpose, healing, and joy, even in the middle of life challenges. Till next time, I'm Tammy. This has been the Bliss Section. Keep choosing yourself, keep growing, and keep creating your own bliss. Peace.